everyone. I'm so excited today for the SecondAct podcast. I have somebody who is an author, a TEDx speaker, a motivational speaker, a trauma and relationship counselor. We really need them. Intuitive coach and founder of Hukam Healing. We'll get to know what is Hukam Healing. The name itself is very intriguing. So let's welcome Karina Calver, who is on a mission to spread awareness. Also talks a lot about forgiveness, which is the key to happiness. Awareness about we as humans, awareness about the traumas and how do we handle things, being mindful, and how does meditation probably, help us to put ourselves back to being people that we are. So welcome, my dear friend. We have been trying to do this podcast for some time. I'm very grateful that you're joining us from Hong Kong, the work that you've started with Hukam Healing. So Karina, it's a pleasure. I know that we might be dealing with little sensitive topic of trauma, healing, etc. So people who might just get triggered with the conversation, I think you shouldn't be on this podcast today, but a lot of it will help. So I'm very, what should I say? I'll be very mindful in asking you questions so that we don't trigger things. At the same time, we also learn tools and techniques to handle ourselves as people. So Karina, tell us about Hukam Healing. Let's start with that.
Sure. So Hukam Healing started last year. Oh. So I've been a trained counselor for, say, about 8 years or so. And I always did it on a freelance basis.
Okay.
Because I'm a high school teacher. I've been doing that for a decade and a half.
Wow.
And so I currently wear a lot of hats. And so last year I decided to really dive into it and create Hukam Healing. Initially, I started out as just wanting to provide counseling services in the focus of trauma, because we all have wounds, yeah. Right? And sometimes we don't even realize we're carrying trauma, because yeah. Trauma isn't something heavy. It isn't about rape. It isn't about someone dying. It isn't about suicide. Trauma can be something that we feel stuck from an experience.
Yeah.
Right? So if you've been neglected from your parent or from your spouse, or any form of sort of like abandonment, right? Feeling unloved and uncared for, unsupported can also lead into trauma. Because so some people might go, how do you figure out whether you have any traumatic experience from the childhood? And the question I always ask is, if you feel like you're not able to fully give yourself to a new experience, and if you feel that you're holding on to fear, you're holding on to insecurity that may stem from something else and you're not sure what, more likely than not, it's a traumatic experience from the past that has not been dealt with. And that's usually the deciphering factor. Okay, so initially started out by wanting to provide trauma and relationship services. And the reason I say relationship is because every traumatic experience undealt with affects a relationship. And I don't just mean romantic, right? It could be a relationship with a spouse, a relationship with a sibling, a relationship with a parent, colleague. Like if you have passive aggressiveness, if you have confrontational issues, if you rather just give silent treatment, if you ghost, these are all ways that we cope because we don't know how to deal with sticky situation, right? Trauma is that. So these are two things. But over the course of giving birth to Hukam, I realized being Desi, I wanted to provide a platform to provide this specifically for Desis. It doesn't mean I don't have non-Desi clients, but more often than not, I want to really just help the brown community, simply because it's a greater stigma in our community to seek help. And a lot of times people seek help, and I especially talk about our community. Brown can mean even like Afghanistani and Pakistani and whatever, right? Pakistani, sorry. And the thing is, because we tend to seek help when it's really dire.
Yeah.
And by that point, we're trying to just survive versus learning skills and tools, right? So if you have the concept of, okay, if I need to go to the dentist twice a year, because that's a thing I need to do, it's a checkup, right? Overall maintenance of my teeth. In the same way, counseling is to make sure I am mentally and emotionally okay. And when I know that I'm okay, then I can be my best self with the people around me, in the experiences and relationship around me. And you can't always really check in with these things because sometimes we don't have the tools. We're not taught these things from our family or from school or from our community. So why do we expect people to know this, right? And therefore, I am big on providing this kind of platform to the Brown community. So that's where Hukam has changed its direction. It's to provide counseling, coaching, and I'm now doing master classes, and I'll be doing retreats and so forth, mainly to Brown people. But my biggest avenue is to Brown men and to couples. Because again, men having this concept that we cannot talk about emotions and we have to be alpha, but sort of shut down our feminine side, which is a completely flawed concept. And I'm not saying men need to be feminine. I'm saying knowing how to address emotions will only strengthen the relationship. So I now do a lot of couple counseling, which is amazing. And I'm also like pushing forward to get men to get coaching so that they understand, because every guy wants to keep their woman happy, but knowing how women work is fundamental. So your women work, but there's a general consensus of how women operate. So if you understand how women work, or your women work in some respect, then you have a leg up in making her happy. And if your woman's happy, we all know that you're going to be flying colors, right? Everything's going to go well for you. And so it's a win-win. So that's kind of where I come in. And that's where Hukam started.
So beautiful, because I've been talking about, this space being available for men. I started doing some work also with leadership, especially in the corporate world with men, because I feel there was something called empathetic leadership. We all need it, as men. But I'm so glad that you identify this space. You also kind of teach them, because I think expression is such a beautiful thing, and somehow I don't know why they miss out on it. And I feel that that women, if they start working with men, I think, and they start seeing the other side, the feminine side as well inside them, I think it's a beautiful deed, and it will be a beautiful world when women are happier, the feminine side, inside out, and also women around. Thank you for doing that, really, Karina. It's really
because it helps them. At the end of the day, it's not, if men understand that they want to have thriving relationships in order to be happy, not necessarily that if your relationship is good, you're happy, meaning one of your components of happiness comes from having a strong, peaceful, harmonious relationship, right? And if you have that, then you feel good. Absolutely. Right? And in order to do that, you need to be able to understand the other gender, your counterpart. And if you don't understand them, it's not even about romantic relationships, right? But at work, your mother, your sister, your mother-in-law, your girlfriend or wife or whatever have you, we deal with women if you're a man. So knowing how to deal with them is just a leg up. So I say, why not if it gives you an added advantage, right? So that's where I come in, is to give you more so that you thrive as a man. And every guy wants to thrive,
of course,
wants to do better than the status quo. So this is where it is.
Beautiful. And I like this concept of like reaching out to Brown, because there are so innate suppressions just being a Brown, right? The stereotypes around it. The world tells us that we are the third world countries, the developing countries, so that it's all about, being born in that space and then growing up there with everything else, which keeps telling us that probably you're still not there, and then of course things happen in our life. And we are all, I think not one person must be saying that my life's perfect. Everybody goes through some shit in life. And I think we all need support. And I think the more that we are talking about, and thanks to pandemic, you also started, I think, very recently, maybe because you also saw this need right now, right? Which was like people were just going haywire, I think, with emotions, with, staying at home, with so many complexities, so many responsibilities suddenly, which we had to realize that, that how important it is to be staying stable, in balance, in good state, and in loving atmosphere. So I'm glad that you started, but at the same time, tell me, since you're dealing with a very sensitive topic, which is, of course, trauma, relationships, how do you handle yourself the start of the day to the end of the day? What is your mantra of staying intact?
Believe it or not, if you ever had a chance to speak to my clients, I get super excited. I almost get charged from working with people, whether it's on trauma, whether it's on relationship. Of course, with relationship, it thrives me even more because I love seeing couples grow and just blossom. Right? With trauma, it's a little more sensitive, but to see any change moving forward, it just gives me so much joy, right? And I think one of the techniques about being a counselor is understanding the separation. I have to be empathetic to understand what's going on,
right?
But I don't have to be sympathetic where I'm stuck in your pain, because then I'm useless, right? So it's empathetic listening and being able to sort of objectify what is it that we're dealing with and how can I best help you so that you can grow and heal from whatever it is that's holding you back. So for me, in terms of mantra, it's always to be my best version in what I'm dealing with, right? So really being, one of the Thich Nhat Hanh's approach is to be mindfully present, right? And so if I'm really here with you, then I'm completely present. I could not be any but my best because I'm really here in my heart space, in my physical space, in my mind space. Then I'm nothing but just serving you.
Beautiful.
So for me, that is what helps me thrive in whatever I do. And it doesn't mean I've reached my top, but that is what allows me. Also, it allows me with mental health stuff, right? Because with the pandemic, like you mentioned, people talk about high levels of stress or anxiety, or feeling really nervous and whatever else, right? And that just leads to a point of disorder. And I feel that when you are engaging in any task, if you just remember to be completely present, and of course there are tools for that, then you no longer will feed into the stress levels. You will no longer feed into the anxiety levels or this nervousness that's kicking in, because you are here. You're breathing into, I'm here. And all of that just fades away. And I think we so easily forget that. And so for me, it's like, it's so thriving. It's so energizing rather. Yeah. But because I'm able to really separate the chaosness of my to-do list and all of that. But when I'm doing what I'm doing, like when I'm here with you, that's where I'm at.
Right.
And that's important.
So while you're dealing with relationships, does the same thing come up with different relationships, but the same stuff, like women need to be recognized, like women need to be honored, respected in a certain way, like men need to be feeling the power that they hold, and sometimes the conflict happens when you start challenging that. So are the issues pretty much same? What do you think in anyhow?
It varies because it's a lot more specific, right? But it varies in the sense that it's more about feeling devalued. And it's not devalued from the get-go, but it's the feeling of devalued. And it's subjective, but it doesn't mean that the feeling is wrong or it doesn't exist. It does for the woman. But being able to air that out with your partner in a calm and collected manner is where I come in. That's why couple counseling is so powerful, is because when the woman is saying that, the husband is learning to be quiet and listen. And that's where I teach them. Right now, you're not responding. You're listening empathetically with your heart, what she's saying. So a lot of times it's about feeling devalued, feeling untrusted, not feeling heard, not feeling supported, right? And I think it goes to the fact that because one, pandemic, so there's this mountainous amount of stress.
Right.
The other is over time, sad but true, people just get so used to the rigmarole of routine that they forget how to pause and truly connect with their partner. So one of the things I always tell my male clients is, when did you ask your wife out? They're like, what? Why do I have to ask my wife out? I see her every night. I'm like, oh, wow. So you don't have to ask her out? You don't have to dress up and look hot for her and vice versa? Dude, you need to. It's a blessing that you have her, and it's a blessing for her too, but you need to honor her. Do you not want to have an amazing relationship? Because that changes, right? Effort is all it takes. And we take for granted we don't need to put in the effort. That's a whole lot of crap. You got to put effort with work. Why don't you not have to put effort with your relationship or your marriage? You do. We all do. Not just the men, even the women. Women think it's okay not to wear your sexy dress and to look good and do your hair and all that stuff if you know your man likes it. You do need to do that. And men need to do the same. Ask her out. Sometimes surprise her with a nice, scented massage or bath or whatever have you. Take her to a nice place that she wants to go, whatever. But it's both, right? But people take a back seat. And that's where the problem lies. We're so comfortable in the marriage. It's not happy anymore. We're comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's not okay. Because once you're comfortable, you don't put the effort. At some point, it's just going to be relaxed. And I'm not saying you have to always put the effort, right? No. But you got to converse real stuff. Sometimes you want to do different things. You keep the spark. You keep the spice going. But if you don't, then it's like you have a roomie. You don't have a partner.
Yeah. I'm hoping that a lot of couples are hearing this, and tonight is the spark night.
Yes, man. I say, do it up.
Do it up. Yeah, true that. Okay, so Karina, tell me, my next thing is, of course, asking you a little bit deeper into conflict, because we all go through conflicts. So,
yes.
So how are you managing to, so there's no one size fit all, which I understand, of course, neither.
Sure.
But at the same time, we don't want to be in a state of conflict. We all, at the bottom line, want to be happier people. We do not want to stay in that conflict. So not getting into the specifics, but how do we actually handle conflict in our life?
Okay. The truth of the matter is conflict does exist. It will always exist.
Right.
Right? There's conflict between countries. There's conflict between animals. There's conflict between people because we're all different. Right. So if we can accept that's a reality, then we go, okay, it's never going to be eradicated. How do I work with conflict? The first and most important tool is understanding my partner, if this is a romantic connection, or even family for that matter. These people are not my enemies. We're on the same team. When we can truly understand that, so if we understand that from here and from here, so when I'm having a conflict, when there's maybe it's been a discussion about something really heavy, right? Really important, whether it's where the kid's going to go to uni, right? And we start having a cat fight. No, they're not going to go to New York. Are you mad? Do you see the crime rate? No, I want them to go to Cambridge or whatever have you, right? And there's a conflict. The question here is, what are we fighting about? And is there such a thing as who's right? Because we're a team. We're in this together for the betterment of who? Of this child. Who had this child? You and I. Why? Because we love each other. And we love this person that we want to send to uni with. So what are we fighting about?
Mm.
So when
I think
we are
questioning
fighting,
your why, going back to, what we are doing, why we are doing, I think those are the questions we must ask every day.
and also knowing that when we understand that we're doing this because we love these people, whether
Right.
it's our child, whether it's our spouse, we step back and go, okay, I'm okay to be wrong if that's what it is. But I want you to remember that I love you. And that's the words we need to express, reminding our partner during the conflict. Because during the conflict, what we say is, you know what, you're such a blah, 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 and I hate you. That's the words we say, which are the most lethal, painful, scarring problems. Hence trauma.
Yeah.
Because we say the wrong thing all the time. Because we're not mindful, we're not present.
So true.
So if we can say, honey, I love you, and clearly we disagree about this, can we reconvene on that later? Let's talk about it when we're both calmer, or when we have thought about it differently. Maybe we can talk to XYZ to get another opinion.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we want the best of this. But one of us needs to have better emotional stability. If both are fired up, game over.
But then it's all a question mostly of egos, right? So how do we handle ego? It is right in front of us all the time. And it stops us from, really being ourselves sometimes, really being our loving selves. So ego plays a very, very important role. And to identify that I have an ego, honestly, there are a lot of people who would not like to even admit to it that I have an ego. They just feel whatever they're doing, oh, they said the right thing. But from a perspective, somebody else's perspective might not be right. So how do you handle that on an ongoing basis where somebody is not able to agree that that person is wrong, maybe?
But firstly, we don't even need to get into ego, because we all have it. Whether we want to admit it or not is secondary. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because we're all driven to some extent by ego. The reason we work so hard is because we want to be successful. There is a level of pride. That's egocentric. Right?
Yeah.
So our ego can play to our strength, but it can also play to our weakness. We all have it. We don't need to sort of confirm that.
Right.
However, we do need to understand that on certain battles, it's okay to be wrong. On certain battles, it's okay to suck in our pride. Because why? This relationship matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean be a doormat and God, that is completely different. No. So your values, your morals, your boundaries are important. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a different concept. But if it's about a little thing, okay, where are we going out for dinner? Oh, I want to go to have Korean. No, I want to go to have Sichuan. And you're going to have a little cat fight. Now that's stupid, right?
Yeah.
So you got to choose your battles. But some people would just argue for the sake of arguing because they want to be right. Now that to me is stupid, because you'd rather just cause more tension and have more drama with your partner that you love than something you need to sort out.
But at the same time, I feel when couples reach out, right, your clients reach out, that clearly also means that they want to be okay with each other. They want to solve things, right? And I think that's a great step. Firstly, to reach out reach out for help, identify that you do need help, and that's a very clear signal of saying, yes, I want things to be okay between either within me or us. And I think I really appreciate that the world has opened up to that. I myself was very close, I have to admit, on seeking therapy, or like if my kids wanted therapy, and I would say, what's wrong with you guys? I mean, everything's there, why would you need it? But I think the importance of reaching out, asking for help, and if somebody is doing that, I think it's a very, very beautiful step to nourish your own soul. And I think we all need to change the mindset of wanting, asking for help, right? And I think thanks to
it's not so much help per se, but it's trying to learn certain skills. It's trying to gain certain tools, because we don't remember when we're in the heat of the moment. We don't remember that we have to pause, take a deep breath and go, this is the woman I love. What am I doing? We forget. We go in a rat race and scream and shout. And maybe even days later, we're like, we will still think we were in the right and wouldn't apologize because our ego, like you said, or our justification story is much greater. And that's where counseling comes in to give you the clarity that that is a recipe for disaster. If you want to have lifelong of battles with your partner, then keep going the way you're going. But if you want to have a strong, harmonious relationship where you guys really know how to communicate, even when the times get difficult, then this is what you need to do, is learn the tools. So you don't learn that somewhere else. Sorry.
As if you talk about forgiveness, and there's a TED talk as well on that. How do you think forgiveness really plays, in making some relationships work, or as a person that I am, to make me the person that I am? How important is that?
Oh my God, it's insanely important, because when you hold on to stuff, who's suffering? You, right? So if I were to get mad about something that happened like 2 weeks ago, and I'm still ruminating over it, and I'm bringing it up in some shape or form, or carrying resentment or anger, I'm suffering, right? So the moment I can let go, and let go is a process, but there are actual inner work stuff and physical stuff that you need to do to be able to come to that place of letting go, right? Only then you can come to the state where you can forgive. So forgiveness, and some people go, okay, how do you actually know if you've forgiven? Clearly, and that's a really good question, right? And I address that, as you mentioned in the TED Talk.
Right.
Is if you have that person, that experience, or that conversation resurface, and if you feel yourself in your gut starting to get uncomfortable, getting knotted, your palms are getting sweaty, right? You're hyperventilating, then you haven't forgiven. Okay? But if you know that you're calm, you're not fazed by what happened, then you're good. You're forgiven. It doesn't mean you have to like completely forget that experience, because we can't wipe it out from our memory bank. But if you know that when someone talks about that person and you're not fazed by it, then you're good. And that's important, because the reason, okay, so some people will be like, but I want to be mad at that person, they did me wrong. Then the question here is, are you able to be your best? Meaning, if that person is someone you work with, or if that person is someone you live with, or that person is being brought up in conversation quite a bit, who is at a disadvantage? And if you're having to live with that kind of scenario all the time, are you not losing out? Can you live your best version? Can you be truly, okay, let's not even talk about best version. Can you be truly happy? Everyone wants to be happy, right? Can you be happy? Best version, it's okay, it's my kind of thing, right? Can you be happy knowing that that's constantly being rubbed in your face? Whether through memory or through physical encounter. You can't, because you're going to be triggered all the time. This triggering is not helping you. So forgive. You have peace and you're good.
Definitely, it's not as simple as it sounds. Forgiveness is not as simple as it sounds, because things surface back. You think about things that happened that also are an obstacle to a lot of things that you want to do probably, and you're not able to because of any things that have happened in your life. So again, not getting into the specifics, but are there any simple tools and techniques that you would like to offer to people who are hearing us today on this whole forgiveness bit of like what they should actually do?
Sure. See, this topic is like, to me, it's the balm to my heart. It's the peacemaker. It's literally, I love forgiveness. And I can talk about it for hours. One of the things that's really important is ask yourself, have you never, ever hurt anybody? have you at the same time experienced one person who has hurt you, but also that same very person has also done something amazing for you? And the answer would be yes. You have hurt someone, and I'm sure you've done something great too, but you've also had that same person done something horrible. You've also had that same person do something amazing. On both, you've experienced two very different emotions, right? One feeling completely devastated, on the other feeling so loved, feeling so special, right? What does this tell you? That we're all flawed. We are imperfect. And the moment we can get our head around it, it doesn't mean we accept that we are flawed. I mean, yes, we accept that we're flawed, but it doesn't mean we don't work on being better, right? Two different concepts.
Right.
When we can have the humility to understand that we are flawed and so are other people, our compass of understanding that we need to forgive because we want to be forgiven too, because we have done wrong too. We don't want someone else going, 10 years ago, you did that to me. It's like, dude, 10 years ago, I apologize. Well, you know what? I'm going to get mad at you for the rest of your life. And I will curse you and this and that, the other. You don't want that. So why should you have double standard? You want to be forgiven. You must have done something that's not been kind. The same applies to the other person. So forgiveness allows you not just to be happy, but to really understand that we're on a journey of getting better as human beings, on living on a good moral compass, but we're also flawed. We're imperfect. If we can pardon other people because they have once done good things to us, but also done bad in the same way, we've done the same. So it's okay.
So, people who go through a certain kind of trauma, we all have something, but there are some severe points in somebody's life when a person is not able to, hold himself tight, or at the same time not being in balance. So what is the role of the peers, the family, the friends, who can actually help that person in the whole process? Do you have anything on the way that we need to be sensitive? How do we handle such a person, etc.?
So you're saying that someone is going through the healing journey of a trauma that occurred?
Yes.
I think on one level is just being supportive. And what I mean by that, so to break it down, is to let that person know that I'm here for you. I may not always know what to say, and literally saying that, right? I may not know always what to say. I may not even give you the best advice. But if you need a hug, if you need anything that I can do, know that I'm always here.
Wow, beautiful.
Because sometimes we don't know, not all of us are trained counselors, God. Yeah. So sometimes it really is, maybe you need something. Maybe you'd be like, you know what, today I just need sambosas. That will make my soul feel good. Okay, sambosas it is. Like, it might be the most mundane things, right? But letting that person know, I am here for you in whatever way it will make you feel better through this journey that you're going through. Gotcha. And it could be that you just want to sit here and have wine with me, and that too we can do.
That always works.
Right. Oh my God, yeah, man, I love it. That's my Friday night ritual. But yeah, it doesn't have to be doing big things, but it's really just verbalizing that.
I think it's a great point. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah,
no worries. Happy to.
So, Karina, this podcast is about Second Act. And Second Act, how I say it, is a continuation, yet an evolution. And it's finding a bigger meaning, a purpose to whatever we're doing. So what is your Second Act?
Is to, in so many ways, it sounds really cheesy, but it's to give back to my people. I'm born and raised in Hong Kong. Right? A lot of my Desi friends laugh at me with lots of love. I know they say I'm not Indian enough because my Hindi is pretty rusty and I have an accent and da da da. But at the core of it, I'm Indian. And being Desi, for me, it's really important to give back.
Right.
And that's why Hukam is that. It's one of the many things that I'm doing at the moment. You know, my memoir is really to tap into letting not just the world, but letting the brown communities know that whatever it is that we go through, we can still thrive. So not letting an incident hold me back and still be that rocket that will shoot high up. And I want to do that as a brown woman, showing brown communities that this is possible. The third world that we're being called, that, you know, brown ain't good enough and all that kind of narrative that we've heard. I've heard a lot of that being in Hong Kong, being a minority. It's also proving that without having to prove it, by just being me and believing in my mission. So that's my second act in a way.
Thank you for sharing that as well. That was good. So we also have rapid fire, just to know you a little bit more. So are you ready for that? Okay. So great. So Karina, 10 years hence.
10 years.
Ahead. 10 years later.
Ahead?
Yes.
Wow. For me as a person or me as
that?
This?
It's an open question.
Okay. 10 years from now, gonna sound crazy cheesy, but I want to make a difference in a tangible way with India. I see dialogues and conversations that are no longer stigmatized. Wow. People can talk about women pleasure. People can talk about rape. People can talk about suicide. People can condone dowry system. People can condone the caste system. People can feel that India is that pioneer in culture, in change, in everything that we stand for, not just in India, but in the world. I want to be able to see that change, but as a pioneer in bringing relationships stronger. That's what I feel I want to be able to contribute, is make some segue where I see change occurring in how relationships are forming, that it doesn't start, you know, whether it's arranged or love, that it doesn't start cascading downwards, you know, and that the value for love is still held up high.
Great, thank you. So love for you is?
Love is the very breath, is like breathing, it's giving, but it's also knowing how to receive, because it's the inhale, it's the exhale. It's life. Love is everything and more.
A man or a woman in the next life?
We're men, of course. I love my gender. The power we have as women, oh my God. Never take that away. I love me without being vain.
Beautiful. Okay. Your best vacation place?
Well, I am yet to experience Sicily very soon, but so far, it's been Santorini.
Yeah.
But also Iceland.
I've never been. So.
Yeah. Egypt, but I think Greece, because it's just so connected. I think I'm a very human person. I love human connections. And Greece is that, where I can just talk to random people and have a great conversation. So I just love people. It's crazy, but I do. Yeah.
So one message you want to give men who are hearing us today?
If you are in a relationship, tonight when you see your partner, or the next time you see your partner, do something that would surprise her, something small, something big, something, anything. And it doesn't have to be something to do. It could be something to say, but do something to make her feel extra special, because it's beautiful to be in a relationship. It's not about you doing something, but it's you valuing what you have, because it's nice to value what we have.
So nice. And one thing for women who are listening:
know that you're loved. And if you have someone that you love, extend that. You know, I always feel, don't wait till tomorrow. right? So pick up that phone, or, you know, if you're with a partner or a family, whatever it is, do that thing tonight. Don't wait, you know, do that thing tonight. If it's your partner loving lasagna, make it tonight. If it's your partner having a really long night, then run a bath for him and make it special. Join him in that bath. Do things that really connect, make you feel loved. Because when you give, you feel loved too, right? So do that.
One thing that you would like the audience from your life to know, which really motivated you to be the person you are?
What motivated me? So many things, and yet nothing. So what I mean by that, because I'm not a big fan of the word motivation, right?
Yeah.
I think my life was that push. And then I was blessed to have a lot of external people and inspiration that turn into action. So I can say it's my circumstances that became that motivation, if you will, and then being fortunate to have amazing pillars to cascade that into reality. Yeah.
It's beautiful to know what you do. It's beautiful to know you, Karina. Thank you for becoming a friend to me, to be honest. We've chatted a few times already now. I will always keep you in my special list to go-to person on advice, on anything to improve, and of course, to blend in relationships. So thank you, Karina. You're doing fantastic work. And I hope that more people do hear this podcast, reach out to you. Because there is a lot of harmony that we need in this world, and it's kudos to people like you who bring that. So thank you for this podcast. Thank you for speaking your heart. Thank you for offering what you're doing. It's a very beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you. And
all right. What a pleasant day, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
From Hong Kong.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.